In the last lesson, you read many lines of phrases from a file. In today's lesson, we're going to put those phrases into a list so you can choose a random phrase for each Hangman puzzle. However, I want the Hangman game to work with a file of unknown size. So in this lesson, you'll learn how to use an array list instead of an array, since unlike an array list doesn't need a predefined size. Hi, I'm Annette Gotland. I'm the author of the Do-It-Yourself Java Games books. I teach Java programming through creating games. Welcome to the video version of my books. We're currently in the Text Games video series, TG, the first of 4 types of games series. The focus of this series is to cover the fundamentals of Java programming. You learn how, when, and why Java programs are written the way they are. This series has 16 projects. Each project assumes you already have the skills taught in the previous projects. A link to the entire Text Games playlist is provided in the description below. We're currently working on the 15th project, TG15, Hangman. You'll be given a puzzle that shows how many words are in the phrase and how many letters are in each word, like this. If you guess a correct letter, the puzzle will show every place it's used in the phrase. If you guess an incorrect letter, that letter will be added to the list of wrong guesses, and another part of the stickman will be added to the hangman gallows. The object is to guess the phrase before all 10 parts of the stickman are drawn. This is lesson TG15.6, where you'll use an array list to hold a list of phrases for the game. In this lesson, I want to allow people to customize the contents of the phrases file. Maybe a teacher wants to modify the phrases since elementary students have much different interests than high school students. Or maybe somebody wants to create this as a game for a party where every phrase is information about the guest of honor. We'll use an array list instead of an array so phrases can be added or deleted from the file. Anyone may change what is in the phrases.txt file at any time without needing to change the Hangman program. To declare an array list, put its type of data in angle brackets. For example, to declare an array list of strings named cities, use ArrayList angle brackets string cities equals new array list angle brackets string with empty parentheses. Items must be added to an array list one at a time. To add a string value to the end of an array list, use the add method with a string parameter. For example, to add Minneapolis to the end of cities, use cities.add with parameter Minneapolis. In fact, you can insert a value anywhere in the list when you specify 2 parameters, the index and the string to add. For example, to add Boston to the beginning of cities, use cities.add with parameters 0 and Boston. When you insert a value before the end of the list, all values after it are pushed out one more index. To get a value from an array list, use get with 1 parameter, the index of the value. For example, to get the second value, index 1, from cities, use cities.get with parameter 1. To get the number of items in an array list, use size with no parameters. For example, to get the number of items in cities, use cities.size with no parameters. Exercise 1. Add the phrases to an array list. Pause the video if you need more time in any of these exercises. If you want to see how I would complete any of the listings, please refer to the completed listings at the end of this video. First, in the constructor, declare an array list of type string named phrases. Initialize the array list by calling its constructor. Then, while the line read in is not null, add the line to phrases. Run it. What happened? It should still run the same as it had before. Next, let's pick a random phrase from the array list. Exercise 2. Pick a random phrase. At the start of the constructor, declare a random named rand and initialize it by calling its constructor. Get a random phrase from phrases and assign it to phrase. Hint: use ArrayList size method and random's next int method. Then convert phrase to uppercase. Run it. What happened? The program should now use a random phrase from the phrases.txt file. Next, let's ask the user if they want to play again after the puzzle is solved. Exercise 3, play again. Declare a Boolean named again, initially true. Move everything from picking the next random integer through printing the sorry message at the end of the puzzle into a while loop that continues while again is true. Before the end of the while loop, ask the user if they want to play again and put their answer in again. Hint: use my Windows prompt for yes/no method. Run it. What happened? After completing a game, it should ask if you want to play again. If you enter yes, it should play another game with a different phrase. If you enter no, it should not start another game. One more change to make this game a little nicer to use would be to close the window if they choose to not play again. Exercise 4. Close the window. Close the window after the while loop that runs while again is true. Hint: use system's exit method. Run it. What happened? It should have closed the window after you finished a game and chose not to play again. This is the end of the Hangman program. If you want to run it without Eclipse or share it with anyone else, you'll need to export it. Exercise 5. Export your program. Export your Hangman program to your Eclipse workspace folder as a jar file named hangman.jar. Copy the phrases.txt file from the Hangman project folder and paste it into the same folder as the hangman.jar file. Double-click the .jar file to run the Hangman game. It should run the same as before. Always place the hangman.jar file and phrases.txt file in the same folder when you want to play the game or share the game with anyone else. Feel free to customize the phrases.txt file with any collection of phrases of your own choosing. Key points and more. Array lists. An array list can hold a list of unknown number of items or a list whose number of items might change. An array list must hold data of all the same type. To declare an array list, use this, where type is the type of data the array list will hold. To add an item to the end of the array list, use add with item as the parameter. To add an item to the middle of the array list, use add with the index as the first parameter. You'll receive an error if you try to add an item to an index past the end of the array list, so make sure your index is valid before you use it. To get the value of an item in an array list, use get with the index as the parameter. You'll receive an error if you try to get an item from an index past the end of the array list. Because Hangman uses an array list, you can change what is in the phrases.txt file, and you won't have to change the Hangman program. Key points and more. Array lists and Java objects. Array lists can only hold items that are Java objects. In other words, the items must have class definitions and usually have methods. Strings are Java objects. They have a class definition and methods, so strings can be put into an array list. Java int, double, char, boolean, byte, short, long, and float are not Java objects. These types are called Java primitives. They can be put in arrays, but not in array lists. If you need to put primitive values into an array list, make them into Java objects by using their wrappers. For example, to create an integer object from an int named num, use this. Integer obj equals new integer num. You can get the primitive value back out of the object wrapper if you call its value method. For example, to get the int value back out of the above integer variable, use int num equals obj dot int value. Objects will be explained in further detail in the next lesson. Here are the completed listings for all the exercises in this video. This is the end of the last lesson in the Hangman project. You now have a fully functioning Hangman game. In our next project, you'll combine many of the skills you've learned so far and learn more as you create the final capstone project of the text game series a Crazy Eights card game. You'll come to better understand object-oriented programming as you create cards, decks, hands, and more for this two-person card game. Your game will pit a person against the computer, and you will have written the code for both players.